So let's take an example of a survey that I've already created and walk you through that to show you the different components and how I got to them or how I set them up. So this is a simple survey, a short one about soda drinking behavior. And so we start with an introduction. And as you may remember from the previous video, we got to this by selecting a descriptive text. And that's allows us to create an introduction, which is just a text. The next question is, have you had a soda in the last 1 month? And this is essentially a screening question. So if they say no, then we want them to basically end the survey. We're not interested in their responses. So we need to put in some skip logic here so that if they say no, then they go to the end of the survey. So here we can click on this gear icon, advanced question options, and add skip logic. Now, the skip logic allows us to send people to another part of the questionnaire. So we say, if they say no, I have not had a soda in the last 1 month, then we skip to the end of the survey. Notice that I can skip to any one of these questions, but basically I want to end the survey. So if no is selected, I skip to the end of the survey, click on done, and that skip logic is set up. The next question is a multiple choice question. How many times a week on average do you drink soda? Again, this was set up using a multiple choice question type, easy to do. But here also I want to set up a skip logic so that if they never drink soda in any given week, then I want them to end the survey. So I'm going to again use skip logic. So if never is selected, then they should skip to the end of the survey. And I'm going to set that up like so and click on done, and that's good to go. All right. So these are my 2 screening questions. But if the respondent qualifies, then he or she continues. And the next question is, which of these sodas have you had in the last 1 week? Check all that apply. Notice they can check more than one option. So I have to make sure to set it up correctly by choosing the multiple choice question type and then choosing the multiple answer type format. And again, notice here in the last of these options, I used allow text entry field to set up this text field that people can enter their responses in. Next question, which of these sodas do you have most often? And here I just want them to pick one. So I've set it up as a multiple choice question with a single answer. And this is actually going to be useful because later on I'm going to ask them to rate their soda that they prefer, that they have most often, to rate it on a number of attributes. So I'm going to pipe in the text, whichever one they picked from this one, I'm going to pipe in the text to that question. That's coming up in just a minute. Meanwhile, I want them to rank the following sodas based on how much you like them. And again, remember that the instructions have to be very clear. Drag these choices to put your most preferred soda first and your least preferred soda last. So make sure that the respondents understand what the task is, which one is supposed to be on top and which one at the bottom. And again, this is a rank ordered question type with 5 options, and it's a drag and drop type of question. So now we come to this question, which says, how would you rate your preferred brand on each of the attributes below? Now, I want to make sure that they are rating the brand that they picked as the one they have most often in the previous question over here. So I'm going to try and pipe in the text here. Instead of saying preferred brand, I'm going to enter that brand name, have that brand name inserted in this question. And the way I do that is by clicking on the question and clicking on pipe text. And pipe text from a survey question, and I pick the one that I'm going to use to pipe in the text from. Which of these sodas do you have most often? And I want to choose the one that says selected choices. So this will show up as a bunch of random letters, and it won't make sense to you just looking at the question, but trust me, it'll work fine. So I'm going to delete preferred brand since I no longer need that. And this will show up as how would you rate your, and whatever brand they selected, on each of the attributes below using the scale provided. So that's how you set that up. And the rest of the questions are pretty straightforward. This question is an open-ended question, which zip code do you reside in? And this is what we call a text entry question. And you can format the text type, single line, multi-line, etc., etc. This is a straightforward question about age, again multiple choice, and the last is an end of survey message, which actually is not necessary because Qualtrics sets up something by default, so you don't really need this. So this is the basic setup of the survey. I want to show a couple of things that you might want to look at. There's something called look and feel on the top of the questionnaire rather, and here you can set up a bunch of things that affect its appearance. So you can set up the theme. I've used a Qualtrics theme, but you also have a Baruch College theme if you prefer that. I would suggest you not use that because that might give people the impression that you're conducting this survey for Baruch College, which is absolutely not correct. So don't do that. But you can change the theme and choose from a bunch of different options. You have some other options here. There's a next button text. You can choose what it looks like, a back button text, and you can have a progress bar with text, without text, or none at all. And the page transition you can just use as a slide or something else. One thing that would be good for you to do is specify one question per page, because this will allow Qualtrics to set up the skip patterns correctly. Otherwise, it'll give you an error and the questions won't follow the skip patterns if you have any. And this will basically allow you to preview the survey. Okay, and let's not preview it here. There's another place we can preview it, but this basically allows you to see what it would look like. You can also choose different fonts, different colors, and there's some other advanced things that I don't really recommend you concern yourselves with. So that's the look and feel. Now, survey flow is something that might be useful for complicated questionnaires. If there's a lot of different skipping, depending on what people say, then survey flow is often a better way to control the flow of the responses of respondents from one section of the questionnaire to another. Instead of using skip patterns, which are basically very simple, survey flow allows you to set up fairly elaborate conditions. This questionnaire doesn't have those, but if you want to do that, I would urge you to explore that option. Survey options will allow you to specify a bunch of things, whether you should have a back button, whether you allow them to save and continue later. Show question numbers, I don't really suggest you do that. A progress bar is better, and various things. But the only thing that I really think you should do is make sure there's a default end of survey message, or if you want to create your own custom end of survey message, then you can specify that. There really is not much to do here. You can basically allow anyone to take the survey by making sure this open access button is checked. Tools is something that you might want to use occasionally. Here's one thing that I think you might need is to export the survey to Word. If you wanted a hard copy, this is the way you do that. All right, so that takes care of the setting up the survey. When you're ready to launch it, you click on distributions, and here you have to choose how you want to distribute your survey. I suggest that you get a single reusable link, unless you want every respondent to have a unique link, in which case you can track the responses. I don't suggest you do that. So just get a single reusable link, and you can copy this and paste it in your email to your potential sample members. One other important thing is to preview the survey before you actually launch it, just to make sure it's looking the way you like. And I would walk you through, if I were you, I would walk through the entire survey. And if there are any skip patterns, depending on how people respond, then make sure you follow all the skip patterns and make sure they go to wherever you want them to go. So, for example, in this survey, we start with the introduction. Have you had a soda in the last 1 month? And if you say no, then they should go to the end of survey, right? And there you go. So we know that skip pattern is working fine. Let's redo this and go through the next step. So let's say I say yes to this, I click next, and I get to the next question. And then if I say never here, I should go to the end of survey again, right? So, and again, that works fine. So that's good. When you're done, just click on close preview. And there you have it. That's pretty much all you need to know to start creating surveys in Qualtrics. Oh, and one last thing. When you're finished with the survey, go into projects, click on projects, and make sure to share the survey with me so that I can take a look at the back end rather than just get a link to the final survey. So here, when you get on into the projects page, you click on the down arrow here under actions, and you click on share project, and you type in my username, which is Kebawa, and that should do it. That's it. Off you go.